After our last set of competitive games, we had a serious discussion off stream about the direction of the team. There were several people who were really unhappy with the standard of our play, myself included, and also wanted to talk openly about how we could change our style and play a bit more of a disciplined and slower style. Now, this is something that was really good from my side because actually it was Wyro who brought it up and made sure that we talked about it. Something that I'd wanted to talk about for a while and was planning to talk about anyway, but the way he did it was actually really good, and it's always better if it comes from a player. Now, from that, this is the next pre-scrim that we went through. So this is the next time we're about to be ready for practice. Unfortunately, Vizicachi had to go to the doctor, so he's not here in this meeting. But I wanted to lay out what we said, to reiterate it, but also find some things that are very important from a coaching point of view. So the big things from a coaching point of view when something like this happens and we want to change the direction of the team is that I have to realize, or have to get everyone to realize, that it can't just be, okay, we take the good aggressive windows, but just don't take the bad ones. And if you're not careful, it's very easy to just fall into that. Like, okay, we just shouldn't play aggressive here and we should have played aggressive here. The problem with that is to do that better is basically the same as just playing better. That's like saying, okay, we just need to kill the enemy nexus. It's not actually useful. It is what we need to do, but it's not actually useful. So the big things for me is to find a way for it to be concrete, something that we can actually do. It's related to the game, and also be clear on consequences. Because the problem is that if you're not open about something like this and you're not saying, okay, well, there's going to be downsides to playing like this, and these are some of the downsides, then when those downsides happen, people can either get frustrated or they can just start to be aggressive again. So what we're going to do now, which is an idea from Jack, one of the commenters on the last video, is we're going to look at this section of the pre-scrim together, and I want to just kind of give you my thoughts on it. So this is partly a way for you to just see this. If you want to see the whole scrim, you can. It's in the live section of my YouTube or on Twitch. But here we're just going to do a sort of review of my own performance. I think there was a lot of things I did wrong in this, but we'll see it as we go through. So the goal for today, we're going to continue and do the things that we discussed after the competitive game. So we're going to play all on the same page. We're going to just consciously... So this already, I don't like this. I think I should have been more prepared. This is because I changed actually how I was going to phrase this slide a little bit after some of the practice, and I thought it was fine, but then when I came to it, I instantly thought of the other things that I was going to say, rather than emphasizing this idea of getting on the same page, rather than emphasizing the idea of actually what we're going to do differently, which is to play slower. So that's something that I think is always important. Whenever you can, make sure you practice your presentations, make sure you know what you're going to say, because really there's 7 people here. If I mess this up, it's not just I messed up a couple of minutes, it's like that times 7. So it's important to take this thing seriously. I'm not happy with how I started this, and to be honest, there's a lot of that as we go through. We agree to play a slower style. So again, I'm going to go through a few things of how I think that should work in practice, how that will work for today. But again, the main thing that I want us to realize is it's not about what's right and what's wrong, the correct way to play and the wrong way to play or anything like that. It's about being on the same page. That's the priority. And so that was really important for me in these situations. I had a few people even saying oh, it's good that we're doing this because Treats was the one who wants to be more aggressive. It's because Treats sees the game in the wrong way. That's completely not the case. And even if it was the case, it would be stupid to make it like that. It's not like we're doing this now because this is right and the last way we were trying to play is wrong. It's because we can all get on the same page, and basically people were kind of refusing to play the other way, and also it wasn't something we could execute within the time frame. We don't necessarily have the time or haven't been able to agree on a way to play, agree on a way to see the game, so instead we're just going to choose to do it. So talked about heuristics before. This is another thing I think is really useful and a common piece of advice that I give other coaches. When they have 2 players who can't agree, they try and get them talking together, or 2 sides of a team that can't agree, the same applies. Talk together and eventually we'll agree on the way that the game works. That's not actually necessarily what you need to do. So here, actually, again, we'll use the example of Treats. He just said, okay, fine. I'll play the way you want to play, even though I think it's worse. Good. We need one person to be professional and adult enough to just say, fine, it's better we all play together and we play a way that I think is less optimal and less fun. That's really, really useful. So that's something always to be thinking about in your own teams as well. Do you need people to actually agree on how the game works? Yes, if you can, but you don't need it. You know, it's great if you can. It's nice to have. But what you need is for people to just agree on a way to play in the server. Or in other 2 splits, I wanted to make sure that I talked about it in every single split. So a heuristic is just a general... This was pretty poorly delivered, I think, as well. I'd mentioned heuristics before. I think it's a really useful concept. The idea is just having like a kind of rough rule of thumb. So here, the rough rule of thumb was we're just going to play less aggressive. So if there's 2 choices, one is an aggressive choice and one is a less aggressive choice, we're just always going to opt for the less aggressive choice. It's not about thinking it's right or wrong. But also I'd mentioned heuristics a few times in the year and thought it would be a little bit of a inside joke sort of thing to include it, but I actually think the delivery was just so poor because I was already a bit thrown off by the beginning, and again, it's just not practiced enough. Rule. The idea is what we're going to try today is I want us to play, as a general rule, more disciplined, less for kills and more for objectives. Now what this means in practice, I want to be very clear, is we will miss windows. There will be windows where you guys will see plays and we're not going to go for them because we're not ready or we're not all on the same page. Someone steps up and clears a mid-wave too aggressively. Like, we will miss windows. People will get away with stuff, and that has to be okay. It's the same in reverse as what we talked about before, where if someone makes an aggressive call, even if you don't think the call's going to work, you have to go for it because that way we'll see if the call works or not. This is like the inverse of that. If we agree that we're going to play on, I don't know, Dwyer's roam from side lane to mid, we're only going to play then, and we see someone fuck up before he gets there, we're just not going to go for it. This, I think, is exactly what I said at the beginning. It's making sure that we're not just saying, okay, we're going to just play better. We're not just going to take all the good aggressive windows and miss all the bad ones, because if we tone everything down, we will miss some good aggressive windows. And I had to make sure that the players were clear about that and clear about the fact that that was going to be a consequence. So someone was going to step up and it's like, we really should have just fucking punished them here. But like I said there, I think it's good to always tie it to something that we talked about before, and people are more familiar with the aggressive side of that, which is that in a scrim, if someone makes a call, even if you disagree with the call, you just play it so that we can see if it would work or not. This is like the less aggressive version of that. Even if you see someone inting, we're just going to let them get away with it. And then afterwards you can say, right, 15 minutes, this guy should be dead here, but we just missed it. And we have to realize that that means we will miss windows. We will let people get away with things, but it's about just finding that way that we can all be on the same page. So for me, what this means in practice, how this means actually in the game, is that during the lane phase, we prioritize the jungle tempo. So the timers that are good, the windows that are good for Jankos in the lane phase, those are the windows that are the most important. So we're in the lanes, we're mostly just playing for tempo and making sure that we're synced, making sure we're just pushing up waves. This maybe I think I can phrase in a slightly clearer way, but I'm not sure how to. Like, I think also I should have said in lane we play for prio rather than tempo, just to differentiate the two, even though of course it's the same thing in reality. Like, being pushed up in the lane gets you a tempo advantage. So for me, I think when you're talking about disciplined, you have to basically prioritize someone's windows. So after the jungle clears, we can do something with the jungler. Like, we never make aggressive plays 2v2, 1v1, but we do 3v2 or 2v1. So that's how you play a more disciplined early game. We're not looking for stuff other than when it's good for the jungler in the lane phase and other people pushing and moving, making sure that when the jungler is ready to do something, we are all also ready. And the problem with doing stuff individually, 1v1, 2v2, is that sometimes it means it's a great timer for Jankos, but we're not ready to play on it. And yeah, so this is the thing, again, gameplay-wise. I think in terms of explanation, I think all of this could always just be a little bit better explained. But that's the nature of things, right? If you had time to practice this 10 times, then great, I can deliver it perfectly. But with other stuff going on, I had a meeting in the morning as well, so I only had the time to look through it a little bit. But my point in terms of the gameplay is that you might take a good window 1v1 or a good window 2v2, but that means that you're not ready to play on the jungler's tempo. You're not ready to play when Jankos is ready. And that's why we can be like permanently aggressive, but somehow get less stuff done. You can be constantly looking for kills, but close the game much slower. You can get a bigger gold lead and close the game slower because you're just not ready to play all together, which is where you really get stuff done and really advance the game. By minimizing the amount we're playing individually and 2v2, we'll be able to be ready more often. Then in the post lane phase, it's going to be about solo laners. So to be honest, this is an interesting thing, which is that most teams up until a few years ago would have said, okay, we need to have the support shot call. And then there's a few people like Targmas doesn't speak very much and stuff like that. Mickey doesn't actually speak that much either, supposedly. Have to ask Yankos for that if that's true. That's just the rumor. And it used to be that people thought that was a big problem because the supports, got a lot of free time in the post lane phase, so they should be the one calling. But that's not actually true because the most important timer in the post lane phase is whoever's playing your strong side. Because again, when they're ready to play, we have to be ready on that window. Or even actually who's playing your weak side, because once we free them up on those windows, it has to be really, really important. So again, if we're playing 2 waves and we depush the 3rd wave and we free up Vizicachi to come to us, but someone's not ready because they saw a really good play 1v1 or 2v2, or they thought they could just catch someone by just flash hooking in or by ulting forward as Varus or whatever it is, then suddenly we're not ready to play on the important window, even though we've maybe even we get a kill. And so even if you think you can get a kill, we're going to make sure that we play a little bit slower. So this is what this actually means in practice. More times than not, it's more about mid lane than it is about top lane, but still making sure that when we're in the post lane phase, we're not trying to play multiple areas of the map. We're not trying to do multiple things at once. We're probably going to spend more time playing on 2 waves or using the 2-wave play more to take control of objectives, to take control of areas. So just going through this stuff that we've been over before. So depushing that 3rd wave, and when that frees up someone, that's a good timer for the person moving from that 3rd wave. That's what I mean by prioritizing that timer. So it could be that before we've depushed the 3rd wave, before we've got Potent today or Chachi tomorrow, or when next time we play, before we've got that person ready, maybe you see someone going too far, you think we can punish them, but we're just going to intentionally today miss those windows so that we can play really hard on the mega important windows around those objectives. Won't talk about the delivery again, but this is really important to stress, like I said at the beginning. And I've stressed it already 3 times during this presentation, but I think it can be that you can't over stress this. It's not that we will miss aggressive windows to punish things. And I think it was really important to make sure that they were really, really clear about this. Sometimes you're going to let someone get away with something that you think is inting because we're waiting to play on the timer 20 seconds from now. And if you flash forward to hook them or you even ult them, even if you get a kill, we don't have that aggressive window. That cooldown to play the proper window better. So for 2 waves, depushing the 3rd wave, preparing, mostly that means recall, but not necessarily. Want us to be really clear, pinging the waves coming out of base, these are the waves that we're playing on. This mid and bot wave for these dragons, these are the ones that are important. Make sure these are our waves. We don't let enemy people clear them for free, and we make sure we're just playing in between them because we know top is pushed as far as we could push it, or anything like that. Last thing that's going to change today and be quite different before we get on to champions and anything else that we want to chat about is that for reviews, we're going to be a little bit less kind of discussion based and a little bit more what I would call vertical. So what we had before is we would show you a play, ask you about the play, and then at the end, especially with Febby would then say, I think we should do this, but at the end. Instead, we're going to do that at the beginning. So we're going to try and be a little bit quicker to go through points, go through a little bit more points, and really importantly, I'm not saying we're doing this because that's the best way. I'm saying it's because it's a way for us to do the same thing. So yes, again, there will be costs to all this. If there's 7 of us having a discussion, eventually we could probably come to a better conclusion than just one person saying, okay, this is how I want you to play. But this way, we actually get on the same page. So this is why I think it's really important to understand what tools you're using in coaching and why you're using them, whatever you call it. I call it vertical, horizontal. There's other ways to call it. The point is being clear about why I might do this allows you to also be clear about what are the downsides going to be when we switch it up. So normally, myself especially, I love having the discussions about the game. I think having a discussion about one point that's productive is better than just rattling through his 10 things that you should do differently. But we decided that we weren't going to do that. We decided that we're going to be at least a bit more vertical. And so I wanted to, again, be clear on like the consequences, which is that between the 7 of us, we're definitely going to come to a better conclusion than just one person can come up with. Because even the people who didn't have that conclusion can recognize that it's the best one. So even if we don't bounce off each other, which we often do, we just work out who's got the best idea, and we say, okay, that's the conclusion for going forward. But that takes a bit of time, and sometimes those conclusions don't align in a deep sense about the game. So instead, we're just going to have it a little bit more vertical. And again, I didn't want it to be super vertical where it's like, okay, no discussion. I'll just say, do this. Here we need to base. Here we need to push this faster, those kind of things. Instead, it was just reversed. So coaches talk first and then other people talk, rather than coach asks, other people talk, then coach talks at the end. It's not about finding the best possible play. It's about having a way for us to do the same thing. So any questions on any of that? Any problems anyone has with that before we go on? Yeah, so there wasn't any questions on that. That was the end of the section. So hopefully this was useful. I tried to keep it fairly short. Under 20 minutes would be the goal. Hopefully it's useful to hear my thoughts as we're going through. Let me know if you want to have any more of this kind of thing. And I will see everyone on Wednesday for our competitive game.